Hello, bookShark Bootcamp. It's your community manager, Janna. And in the tradition of the holidays, I am going to be joined by Tanya, one of our advisors, and we're just going to talk about some things that can put you at ease about the holiday season. Whether you are choosing to take a long break, no break at all, or break a little bit, we're going to help you get rid of maybe some of the guilt that you feel about missing some school, any residual feelings of feeling that you are falling behind in any way, because as I would say veteran homeschoolers at this point, we know that even though it feels really intense right now, especially if this is your first year with Bookshark, it's going to be okay. And we're going to walk you through how you can do different activities, how you can let some things go, pick some things up, how you're going to make that up if you do feel like you're behind as the holiday season progresses and after the new year starts. So let's bring in Tanya. Hey, Tanya.
Hey,
Thanks for being here today.
thank you.
So you are obviously all ready for Christmas in your background. I've got my Christmas vest on. I love wearing ridiculous costumes, I guess, at the holiday season. Love to embarrass my children, mostly in all of them. So this is one of my favorites. I feel like I'm, for those of you who are closer to our age, that movie that Jamie Lee Curtis did about Christmas with the Cranks. She had her famous holiday vest. So I feel like I'm in the spirit.
Yes, you you certainly are.
We actually just got our Christmas tree put up this week, as you know, Tanya, and there are some people who haven't even begun to think about the holidays. So we have this vast spectrum of people who have been listening to Christmas music since November 1st, and those of us who are barely getting some Christmas decorations and lights on their house by the second week of December. So where do you fall in that spectrum?
Well, Thanksgiving was late this year, so we kind of did a little mix. Before Thanksgiving, we put our outside lights up because the weather happened to be good. And then we had our crowd of college kids come home and for Thanksgiving, and then we put it up right when they left. We put Christmas up. So I don't know, it seems a little cluttery to me to have a lot of Christmas out. So I waited till they left. Um, I'm not one of those to do it really before Thanksgiving, although the lights were an exception this year.
Yeah, they were. And just so you guys know, Tanya and I actually live in the same neighborhood, and I was giving her a really hard time about having her Christmas lights before Thanksgiving. So, I mean, there's so many different ways to do the holidays. You know, we're talking about Thanksgiving and Christmas, but there are plenty of people who celebrate different holidays throughout this season, and some who choose not to celebrate any holidays. And so, we've actually been fielding some questions on our boot camp about the holidays and how do you relax and enjoy and not feel like you're behind. So for those maybe who haven't talked to you on the phone or messaged you in any way through Bookshark, why don't you just introduce yourself, how many kids you have, how long you've been homeschooling, and where your kids are at now as you're entering the holiday season in 2024.
Okay, so I'm a mom of five. I have 21-year-old twins who are out of the house in college, and then I have a 20-year-old daughter who's in college. I have an 18-year-old at home who's a senior this year, and a 15, almost 16-year-old that is a sophomore this year. I've got the college kids are coming home on Friday, so that's exciting. And yeah, it's ever changing at our house, our schedules.
Yeah, and in fact, your kids actually just took the month of November off. Is that correct?
Yes, our younger kids were had the opportunity to go to France for the month, and so they went with my in-laws and they did a cruise, a river cruise to Normandy and Paris and all the surrounding cities. And so that was their school for the month of November.
You guys, you think about the fact of, you know, maybe your kids, maybe you're not sending your kids away for a month to a different country, but you think about the fact there's so many learning opportunities just in life itself. And as an avid Bookshark user, myself and Tanya, we definitely believe in the product. We also know that the reason you choose to homeschool is so that you can be flexible. So if an opportunity, a learning opportunity, a life opportunity presents itself, we encourage you to just grasp that, just jump on that as soon as you can, because we don't know what next year will bring. You don't know what next year is going to bring for you. Like both of us, each year we reevaluate and decide where our kids are going to go and what they're going to use and how it's going to work out. And you know, things happen. Tanya and her family, they move quite frequently, being in the military community. We decided to move and cross country. And so things just change. My daughter's actually looking at possibly taking some classes and either doing college next year, her junior year, like Tanya's daughter, or going to a traditional high school for her last 2 years so that she can participate in different things. I'd love to do a whole live about that because I have my own feelings about her giving up this opportunity of her last 2 years of being homeschooled to be in a public situation, but that we'll save that for another time. With your college kids coming home, Tanya, how do you feel like that affects your younger two at home, especially with the fact that they had just had off a month of traditional school?
So typically in the past 3 years, while the college kids were away at school, we would take our breaks when they took their breaks. But this year, I feel like we've taken off enough time. So they're back at it, back at full-time school. And I plan to have them work all the way through at least Christmas Eve. I know it sounds so mean, but they had a plenty of time off. So it does look a little different this year. It might be a little bit of a lighter schedule, but they're definitely going to be keeping up with their math, history, and science. Maybe not the electives so much, but that's how we're going to run it this year.
Well, I know that with my college daughter coming back, it's hard for my younger to stay focused, and not
Yeah.
because of my younger. It's actually because of my older. She is the one that is like, "Come on, let's go do something. Come on!" And she's thrilled to not have any schoolwork. Oh, this is her first. I mean, I guess not. It's her third college year technically since they were doing college and high school, but it seems like it's a little bit harder when you have the one that really is the cruise director coming home and not having anything to do and wanting to pull the younger one in and getting her kind of distracted. Like you, we've also had a lot of breaks already this year just because our schedule, we're trying to find our rhythm again, having moved cross country, having beach access. We walked the beach yesterday and like here we are walking barefoot on the beach in December. This is pretty spectacular. So I do let my daughter, now that she's in high school, really dictate her schedule. And excuse me, if she wants to go into the summer, that's her choice, right? Like if you want to take it, it's got to get done. So I guess I'm biting my nails going, trying to let her have more autonomy. But let's talk about when your kids were younger. I mean, obviously the majority of homeschooling parents that are part of our boot camp really do have younger students. And so when they're younger, you don't give them that type of freedom, right? Because it could be disastrous. Maybe you do, depending
No.
on the child, but it could be disastrous, right? So thinking about years
Yes.
prior, what did your holiday schedule kind of look like leading up to the holidays?
Well, I definitely, this is actually the first year I haven't sat down and done the whole curriculum and read every single book with them. This is the first year that I've like let them follow their own schedule. So that's a little harder for me to give up. But in years past, I would choose a date that we were done for the season, whether it be like December 15th, and we would just follow that. And then we would have a start date. And that just, it really helps my mind. I don't think they really cared either way, but it helped me to realize, okay, these are the days I have off. And then, it gave me a start date so I would be ready in my mind. Yeah, so I definitely stuck to a schedule more so when all the kids were still at home.
Yeah, and really, when you homeschool, it's such a short amount of time technically. I know as a homeschool parent, it feels like it's all day long, and that's just parenting. That is just
Yeah.
because you were with your kids all day long. And if you were like me and you were with the kids all the day long, and then when your partner came home, you turned around and went to work, made for very long days. But on the other side of it now, we're so grateful for the choices that we made to do this. If time is relative, I think. And if you don't write down, like that's what we talk about, having that schedule at the beginning of the year, the beginning of boot camp, print those months out, make a schedule, make sure you do it in pencil because things are going to change. But really look at what needs to be done at the holidays. If you're not taking a solid break of any, however long, the month, the week, whatever, looking at what you have to get done, because whether or not you think you're not going to be busy during the holidays, I guarantee that if you're part of any sort of community, unless you live on an island by yourself, there are going to be people who are going to want you to come sledding or go Christmas caroling or, visit. We talked a lot about last year visiting retirement communities. You have all of these different activities. If you're Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, all different types of clubs, there are things that they do around the holidays. So even if you want to stick to the schedule that you have made, you have got to make sure that you give yourself some flexibility because that phone's going to ring, you're going to get that email, you're going to mention it to your kids, and of course they're going to want to do it. So when your kids are like, oh, do we have to do school today? You always have that choice, right? The choice is it's a yes or it's a no. But you know that when you're homeschooling, you have such flexibility that you can say yes to some things. And then obviously you're just going to have to say no to other things because there's just too much. There's so much that you can pack your schedule and then feel very overwhelmed. And I think something that I kind of got into a couple of years ago was really trying to figure out how I was going to not just survive the holidays. When my kids were little, I did hair. I mean, that's the busiest time of the year. People want their hair done. There's parties, there's pictures. And so I worked a lot more from probably right before Thanksgiving all the way through the new year. And I wanted to, didn't want that to affect what my kids did, didn't want that to affect their school. And so I ended up getting burnt out. And as a mom, like looking back for the amount of Christmas or holiday seasons you have with your kids are so short. So is there anything that you have done in the past that you regret and or have learned from to not continue to do in the future as the holiday season comes?
Well, it's very easy to fall into the trap of overscheduling yourself. So I think I used to not be as flexible. I'm very type A, and I think I'm kind of recovering from that because I used to want to check all the boxes and make sure everything was done. But as the years have gone on through homeschooling, I've realized that's not really working for us. So I become more flexible. So I think just being so hard on a schedule, I think that was not a good thing. And so I can look back and say, I wish I was a little more flexible with my kids' time and maybe done more fun things. Like, I mean, one thing you mentioned, there's just so many activities that come up in the month of December, and you can look at it as there's ways to turn it into school. Like if, there's lots of little plays around town. We have one coming up around town with our friends' kids are in. Even just bringing your kids to that is exposure to theater and just seeing how hard these other kids, worked to be in a play like that might spark an interest in your kids to want to be in something like that. So, also, a new thing for us this year is we have our last driver in the house. And so last night we drove around to get her night hours, and that was to look at Christmas lights through the neighborhood. So there's different ways you can make school without feeling like school. And maybe you're not sitting down at a desk during the day, but even if you ended at a certain day on December 15th, there might still be some things you're doing the rest of the week, the next week, that are considered school-like activities, but your kids won't think of it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talk about, baking is a huge
Mm-hmm.
schooling opportunity, life, not only learning life skills, but also just to talk about math and distribution and chemical reactions and all of the things. It's so exciting when we can incorporate life into the learning or vice versa, learning into life, because that as adults, we understand that it really is what learning can be. And so we don't have to be checking the boxes and doing all of the things. Now, I would say probably in all of our years of using bookShark, we would pick back up over the holidays, maybe a book that we put down for a while, and we were like, we just feel like we're getting too far behind in this, so we're going to close it up. I would move to the next book to stay on schedule. And then at the holidays, I would go back because we'd have more time and we would actually do the read aloud. One year in particular, it was The Girl Who Rode the Horse of Milk White Jade. I believe that's the
Yes.
title. It's a long title. But my kids weren't really into it as we were going through it in the fall. And I was like, okay, fine, let's move on. And then at the holiday season, we found ourselves stuck at home during a snowstorm. And actually, my husband got snowed in at his work. And so here we were. We weren't planning on doing school. And I said, you know what? Why don't we just pull that book out and start reading it? It ended up being definitely one of my favorite books of the whole level in level F, which, we both agree is still all of our favorite levels. But it's times like that, like you can do things. So you don't have to give up read alouds. You can switch your read alouds. You can start reading holiday books instead of the prescribed books, knowing, I promise you, in January and February, those days and months feel so long. So you will have time. You won't be doing all of the activities. January can be a very kind of a slow month. So you think about that. Even if you took an extra week off, if you did 5 days a week in January, you've just made up that week if you feel like you need to make something up. So the other thing that you can do is take whatever you're learning about in history and apply it and see how they celebrate the holidays. So let's say you're learning about Germany. You can see their traditions. You can look up their recipes. You can do, holidays around the world.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that you can incorporate if you don't necessarily want to cut it all off and say we're not doing anything, but extend the fun and show your kids that learning can be fun and it can go beyond the prescribed curriculum and you can keep moving in that. Speaking of holiday fun, if you guys haven't had a chance to catch bookShark's 25 Days of Holiday Theme, I encourage you to go look back at the reels that we've been putting out. Last week we did 5. We'll do another 5 this week. You can hit the blog and it will show you all that you need to actually do those theme activities. So week 1 was science. This week is going to be technology. And one of the things that we suggest in technology is doing a virtual Christmas around the world tour, holidays around the world. So in order to embrace different cultures and different ideas, we have the internet at our fingertips and we really can. YouTube is phenomenal to be able to see the different ways that people celebrate. And you actually feel like you can kind of do like an immersion, right? You can watch the videos, you can make the food or bake the goodies, and it really extends the learning in a way that you never were able to maybe in public school because you just didn't feel like you had the time, and you can incorporate it in your day to day. Tanya, have you guys done any of international holiday themed things over the years?
We need to do Paris this year. No, we haven't, but we've definitely, my daughter does love to bake, so she definitely likes to get going on that. She was just saying she needs to pull out some of the recipes for Christmas. So she does enjoy that. But I think they do, since they were over in Paris, they got to see it live with the lights and all the things. So I think, it sparked a new interest in them. But speaking of a book, there was the turkey book. Do you remember that one?
The Great Turkey Walk, maybe?
The Great Turkey Walk in
Level E.
D or E.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good holiday one. I know it's over Thanksgiving, but that was such a hilarious book. And I remember reading it to them as when they were little kids during Thanksgiving. And I thought that was so neat. I loved that the curriculum kind of paired up with the holidays as much as possible.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I have to pull that one out. I don't think that one's sparking my memory, but like I said, we veto books, so maybe that wasn't one that we read, but we should go back and read it.
Oh yeah, the turkeys follow this guy, walks forever with all these turkeys. It was funny.
I will definitely pull that out. That sounds like a fun one. Another thing that you can do is replace, and we've talked about this year after year, but I think it's so important, replace games, especially with math. So if you take a break from math, but you feel like, I don't want my kids to get behind, again, this idea of behind, believe me, on the other side, you're never going to think about being behind again. No. But we're being realistic. We understand you feel that way. You can find so many card games with just a regular deck of cards. If that's all you have, or you go to the dollar store, you get some dice and you get a deck of cards. And there are so many games on the internet that you can play. And just
even Monopoly, there's a lot of money involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so many times we think, oh, we're going to play a game, and then we don't. But this is a great time, put on an old Christmas movie or a holiday movie that you love that you don't have to super pay attention to, but it's running in the background. Pull the game out, have the kids, play and enjoy each other, because I think that part of really thriving instead of just surviving during the holidays is the family enjoyment. Mm-hmm. Getting together with family, if it's just your nuclear family, if that's all you have, that is enough. If it's extending that to friends and family, that's great. But it's really just that community building of eating together, cooking together, doing the activities, puzzles. I happen to really love puzzles. And so at Thanksgiving, I always get a puzzle. I try to get one at Thanksgiving, one at Christmas. And it was funny because I had it kind of set out to the side, and we had friends and family over, and people would just go by and put a piece here and there. But I mean, there really it's about collaboration. There's so many things. So as you're coming into the season and you're feeling overwhelmed because how are you going to get it all done? Let me just assure you, you don't have to do it all. And if you feel like there are things essential that you want to get done, then just incorporate it into your family time and learning. You think about, we're really not doing gifts this year at all. It's the first year ever. I'm a little anxious about it actually, but I'm trying to get over it. But if you are doing gift giving, money, budgeting, have your kids help. It's just so important to show your kids that school is not over here and life is not over here, but that they intersect in so many ways. And I think that's what helps create lifelong learners.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Do you guys have any special holiday books that you pull out or like to read? Or is there ones that when your kids were little that they just couldn't get enough of, or maybe a movie?
I did when they were little, every Christmas I would look up all like the classic good Christmas books and we would read them. We'd read a chapter a night. And even when my big boys were in middle school, like everybody gathered round. We used to do that in the Advent every Sunday. But we loved like was it the best Christmas pageant? I know there's a movie out, but my kids thought that book was hilarious and that was a fun one. And then we read some ones that just tore at your heartstrings. So I forget the names, but there's definitely book lists online where you can find books that would suit the whole family. And we used to do that every night, read a chapter, and they really looked forward to it, even the big boys. So, just don't worry about how old your kids are. They will still enjoy things like that. And the other thing is we're big puzzlers, and my husband especially and my daughter, they've got a puzzle going on the bar right now, and this is what they do all season. In fact, I hit the Black Friday at Target and got them all for $5. I just loaded up because they finish them every week. There's a new one going.
Yeah, you think about the simple things in life and kind of getting back to that and knowing that just spending time together, focusing on what is interesting to your family. So if your family is not into baking, right? Then don't do that. Then we're not suggesting that that's the only thing you can do, but we're big into movies. So I love watching Christmas movies. I love rewatching Christmas movies, but I also love finding a new holiday movie to watch. And so I mean, it doesn't have to just be like that traditional educational. Another thing, digital art. I mean, there's just so many things that you can do that
Mhm.
again you'll be seeing as if you're going to watch the 25 days of holiday STEAM. And STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Just so you guys know, so it'll be five days of that for 5 weeks. And super excited. It's been a lot of fun to do. But I really hope that this is just showing you guys alternative ways to enjoy the holidays without feeling the guilt that you're not doing enough. Your kids are going to remember the memories that you make during this time. And believe us, as we say with adult children now, which is just hard to say out loud, that those are the things that really matter to your kids, not how many gifts you get them, not all the places that you necessarily took them or the clothes that they got, but just enjoying each other and creating this space to learn in life and incorporating that into the things that you really do enjoy as a family as you go into the holidays. So Tanya, thank you so much for being on our December Live.
Thank you.
You guys, if you ever have any questions, Tanya, again, is one of bookShark's advisors. She is amazing, and she is always there to help get your questions answered and help you guys just feel supported in your journey through your homeschool with bookShark. Again, Janna, your community manager, it has been a pleasure to just talk with you guys and be an encouragement over this holiday season. I hope you guys choose to just enjoy and remember to thrive and not just survive the holidays. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.